Welcome to One Mic, where it all goes down.
It's the show that rocks all night. You can catch me live with Diego on One Mic. VC talent that's on site. Let the stars them shine, shine bright like starlight.
One Mic. One Mic is brought by Soundblast Entertainment, Reese Cosmetics, Foster's Creation, Graflex, SC Productions, Soca Nation, Echelon Ultra Lounge, and Hyrule. Hold your own. Please drink responsibly. One Mic. So, starting off the night session, we got a nice exclusive interview with the steel pan boss of the world himself, Mr. Rodney Small. So y'all make some noise for Rodney Small in the place. Yeah, man, Rodney Small's in the place. So, Rodney, let's jump straight into it, my brother. First of all, Steel Expressions was a movie. That is Steel Expressions 2019. Right? What about Steel Expressions 1?
Well, let me say good night to the persons who are viewing. Steel Expression 1 happened about 8 years ago. You know what I mean? I was still in school in Jamaica, trying to pursue my degree. You know what I mean? And a lot of persons were really asking what I was doing in school. You know what I mean? You really can't answer everybody because we have 110,000 people here. So the best way to do that is really to put it on the stage. So I was able to put together the show with some guidance from other Vincentians. You know what I mean? And it was really to show people what I was doing at school. So that's where it came from. And that's where it started.
So, Rodney, the last Steel Expressions was totally sold out. Totally. Until they had people minus bands inside, they just wanted to get in the show. They didn't mind if they had a wristband or not. The first Steel Expressions, how much people would you recall was at the first Steel Expressions?
Well, the very first Steel Expression was at Peace Memorial Hall. And if you take away the staff and the musicians, we had about 18 persons at Peace Memorial Hall. 18, 1-8. Minus the staff and the musicians and the artists. So really had 18 persons at Steel Expressions, the very first one.
So why I started off the interview like that is because you are definitely an icon, you're a trailblazer here in SVG. A lot of artists look up to you, and you know, a lot of other people outside of entertainment look up to you as well. And I really need for them to know and be patient and be persistent with it to understand that it doesn't come overnight. It really doesn't come overnight. So let's start with Rodney Small from day one so that they can get a background on, you know, how serious it is, how much times entertainment is going to knock you down, and, you know, the things that you can do to really pull yourself together, dust it off and say, hey, let me hit it again.
Well, you rightfully said it a while ago. The entertainment industry is a special place. You know what I mean? And a very, very, very special case. Creative people on a whole, you know what I mean? And just like anything you do in life, you're going to face your challenges. But once you know what your purpose is and what you want to do and where you want to go, you know what I mean? You just have to stand firm. It is easier for us to say it, you know what I mean? But holy faith, I mean, always remind yourself why you started doing it and just push on, you know what I mean? Because for me, as Rodney, you know what I mean, I've been doubted many times before. But one of the things that I always remind myself is, why did you start? You know what I mean? And sometimes you just have to just put on your blinders and keep going. And as I say, it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's easy for us to say it now because we're at a particular level. But for those who are starting, you know what I mean, you're going to get the fight. I'm not going to fool you and make you feel that it's easy. You're going to get it. You know what I mean? There's some persons who are lucky enough. For example, Rihanna and Coffee. You know what I mean? They started very early and bang, they hit the charts one time. You know what I mean? And that situation is not rare. But you know what I mean? There are also the very popular situation where when you start, you're going to get the fight, especially if you start in being good. You know what I mean? You're going to fight you, but don't pay attention to the fight. From the minute you start paying attention to the fight and the distraction, then, you know what I mean, you defeat yourself. So just put on your blinders, keep moving, you know what I mean, associate yourself with the right people. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say the right energy because the right energy is subjective. Associate yourself with the right people, the right spaces, and just push on.
Let's talk funds, finance. Artists put out music out there year to year, yet, you know, they don't get the bookings that they think they deserve. for numerous reasons. One might be what they're putting out is probably not what the promoters want. One might be that, they're just out of sight, out of mind, and it can go on. However, Rodney Small as a brand, you're never out of gigs, but then you don't go slight. You're always in the face, you're always live, you're always in something. So tips to those that want to get bookings as well.
My first advice would be, it's better to form relationship. Because, for example, you can give me, let me say, $2,500 right now to be on one mic and never call me back. But I could never pay for what is happening here in terms of the mileage I would get and the platforms one mic would reach. So I always encourage persons to start building relationship instead of just the moment. The monetary contribution in the moment. It's also important to always acknowledge the business element. But first and foremost, build your relationships, do partnerships, let people know what you're about. Have other persons partner with you on pushing your brand. And then when persons see the value of your work, they would embrace it and they would pay for it. But first and foremost, build your relationship, build your brand. Have a lot of associates, ask a lot of questions, put yourself in the right place. You have to be fronted. You have to be fronted. It don't make no sense you're charging for something that nobody know about. So my advice would be build a relationship first. The money will come. Because it really took me approximately about 18 years before I started seeing any sort of money. And I've been in this music industry for over 20 years. So the money will come. Don't worry about it. The money will come. Just build the product. And artists have to see themselves as a product. This thing is no longer a hobby. There are persons who are making a living from it. And don't get it twisted. The money will come.
When it comes down to stage, you are maestro on the stage as well. Did you ever do a performance that people really didn't dig, they didn't feel? You ever got a boo in this life, anything like that? Make you feel a little different?
I can't recall getting a boo, but there's some very tough audience out there. And you could read them very wrong as an artist. So there are audience where I meet where one person didn't clap. But that doesn't mean that they didn't enjoy the performance. It's just that it's not that type of audience. But for me as Rodney Small, I can't remember getting boo. Because I think for me as a performer, I really, preparation is key. So I sit back and I think about who am I performing for, where am I performing, and what I want to say. Because I think it's an opportunity for me to share what I want to say. Now, also what you have to remember for a lot of the young entertainers, you're not performing for yourself. So if the crowd wants you to play Mary Had a Little Lamb 10 times, you have to play Mary Had a Little Lamb 10 times. Sometimes as musicians, as artists, we get so caught up in our zone and this is what we want to do. But that's not what they want. So sometimes when you see a lot of entertainers getting booed, it's because of lack of preparation. Not the right thing at the right time. That's just what it is. But you have to be mindful. You have to do your research. So if you know that you're playing for Indians, you have to go and do some research for Indian music. So then people can relate to what you're doing. So it don't make no sense you go and do something that is totally foreign. What I would advise you to do is, do a little research on who you're performing for. You captivate them, then you give them a bit of what you do originally. But preparation is key. And you must have that connection with your music, with your performance. So, audience feed off of your energy. Naturally. And it's not something that you can fake. You have to have that connection with your performance and with what you want to say. Concept is everything. You understand? So one of the things that I do is I pay a lot of attention to who is booking me, one, the age group, the nature of the event, the nature of the venue. You understand? And who is around, and half your work done. And your song selections is important, right? So just be mindful of the nature of the event, and then be clear on what you want to say. Because it's a musical language, it doesn't matter what you're doing. So the man who probably singing Bend Over Gal or Big Up all the Weed Man them, you must know what you're trying to say at the end of the night. You understand? It cannot be something that is foreign to everybody. You understand? So that's just my only advice, you know what I mean?
Fashion in entertainment.
Critical. I will give you a perfect example. You have a child, right? You have a daughter. You go to the supermarket. You see a cornflakes with just a box that says cornflakes. And you see one that have a lot of flowers and a lot of colors. Which one goes in the basket? Exactly. So in this entertainment business, image is everything, first and foremost, right? That's why Hiron put a lot of emphasis on their branding, on their packaging. KFC. I remember when KFC run out of, you remember the KFC original bag? And they used to give you in plastic bag, the whole of St Vincent Vex. What kind of bag they give you in? Perfect example. So first, that's the first thing they see. Before you see an entertainer, before you hear an entertainer, you see him. You have to smell good, you have to look good. Now, costuming, wardrobe is important to what you're doing too. You know what I mean? If you're doing a concept of a vagrant, I don't expect you to come flossing, if I may use that term. I expect to see you dressed like a vagrant. You understand? So it's important, critical. And I would say one of my professors said to me before, even if you're going to the supermarkets as an artist, make sure you look proper. Your eyes are always on you. You know what I mean? Always on you. So big up the fashion designers, you know what I mean, and all the artists who have fashion designers on their team. It's very, very important. Because you could have the best performance in the world, and if you look bad, and if you don't look good, or you have a wardrobe malfunction on stage, they don't care how good your song is. They're going to remember Nikki when she heels break and when she brought thing off, and that's what they're going to remember. So you have to make sure that is on point.
One Mic is powered by Sound Blast Entertainment, Reese Cosmetics, Foster's Creation, Graflex, SC Productions, Soca Nation, Echelon Ultra Lounge, and Hiron. Hold your roll. Please drink responsibly. One Mic.